I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. And I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational.
You can do it!
But that just wouldn't be our style.
Welcome to Project Reclamation, where you rebuild, re-energize, and reclaim your life. Welcome back to Project Reclamation, everybody. This is episode, 90?
Holy smokes. How did someone let us go 90 episodes long? How has this thing isn't regulated by what is that? What's the Radio Commission or something like that? It doesn't matter.
What is it, FCC?
Yeah, FCC. Them guys too.
TSA, the
TSA
FBI,
want us
the
off.
CIA,
TSA
the
has
FDA,
told us that they want us off for a long time.
USDA, I don't know.
The USDA says that we're not grade A.
So
we're not grade A.
Welcome back, everybody. We have Tim, obviously. Yeah, yay. Steve with me.
Aziz Ansari.
And we have a special, actually, scratch that, very special guest.
Oh my God.
Another member of the most awesome podcast network in the fucking multiverse. We have with us Patti Larson. And Patti, why don't you tell people about yourself?
Wait, now Patti is from Just the Worst Podcast.
Well,
okay?
yes.
And you can find this podcast along with many others and many other amazing podcasts on podbelly.com. Pig Out on Podcasts.
Pig Out on Podcasts. Such is true.
Probably the greatest thing. But without any further ado, Patti, say hello to the dozens and dozens of listeners of Project Reclamation.
Dozens of listeners. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here. This is it's always a challenge trying to get in with other folks on their podcasts, and it's nice to be welcomed into yours.
Oh, trust me.
100%.
We love it. We love it.
I will, unlike my podcast, I will try to keep it positive.
I know. Just the worst. Oh,
yeah.
Just the worst. I mean, it's in the name. You know what? If someone listens to your podcast and they're expecting like uplifting shit, that's kind of their fault.
No, that's
for 100%. And the other thing that's great is that we can screw up or just disappoint ourselves and be like, well, we're the worst. What did you expect?
I know. It says it in the title. Yeah. What did you expect?
And it's like, it works because you're talking about just the worst shit. But then also, if you fuck up, then it's like, no, I said just the worst. Like, what were you
we
expecting?
expand it to everything.
You know?
We put out a lot of feelers, by the way, for Project Reclamation listeners. We put a lot of feelers out there for some special first guests out there. Gandhi did not return our message.
Well,
not from Beyond the Grave. The seance
the Beyond the Grave stuff is hard.
Beyonce, I know she's a very popular young lady, is what I hear. Beyonce did not want to be on here. Apparently, she was touring the world or something.
No, she said something to the left.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh,
maybe she wants to be on last podcast to the left.
I guess I don't know.
Oh, it's on the left. I fucked that up.
And then we said, well, who else can we get that obviously our listeners are going to love? And Patti, you came in third, right behind Beyonce. So
wow,
I know
that's true.
Not
that's
bad.
Pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad. As we always do, we like to thank every one of our listeners here, and the premise of our.
I think before I forget, so we gave our shout out to Podbelly. Go check it out, podbelly.com, where you can listen to Just the Worst podcast with Patti Larson and her co-host. You can also listen to quite a few. I did promise some people that I would give them a little shout out, and we might even play some promos here. So the first one is. I would like you guys to check this out. It's a new podcast. It's called Warning, You Will Be Offended, with Jerry from Hillbilly Horror Stories. So check it out.
Warning. You will be offended.
Are you sick of everybody being so sensitive these days?
No matter what you say, everyone gets offended.
Then we've got the podcast for you. I'm Jerry.
I'm Amanda, and we're the hosts of Warning, You Will Be Offended.
A podcast with no filter. If you're offended easily, this is not the podcast for you. We can't even talk about most of the topics on this promo. You won't want to miss Amanda's Fact of the Week.
Ooh, can I tell them about torso porn?
Absolutely not.
Can I tell them what color whale poop is?
No. So subscribe today to Warning, You Will Be Offended.
It's pink.
Damn it.
So yeah, you guys, hopefully you like that. Check it out. It's also on the Podbelly Network. Another one is
hold on. Wait a second, because we have so many. We have our dozens and dozens of listeners, and they may not be familiar with Just the Worst podcast. Patti, now that we have this ability,
I was going to do these two promos and then let Patti talk about her podcast.
You know what? Yeah, let's get that out of the way because I don't want to. I don't want to have any interruptions.
I want to do business. You got to get the business out of the way.
Got to get the business.
All of our sponsors. Okay, there. I just talked about all of our sponsors.
Okay, perfect. That's how many we have too. It takes forever to get through it.
So the other promo that I want to do today
Talk to me.
is two lovely ladies,
Okay.
Kim and Ket. They both have IMDb pages. Go check them out. But they have a podcast. It's a comedy horror podcast called Kim and Ket Stay Alive, maybe. So, anyways, it's a fun podcast. I've listened to it. I dig it. They're fun gals. So here is a promo for their podcast. Kim and Ket Stay Alive, maybe.
Hey, you looking for a horror movie comedy podcast with a twist?
Well, this is Kim and Kat Stay Alive. Maybe?
So each week, one of us picks a horror movie and tells it to the other, breaking it down and at key points, giving the other a chance to say what they would do to stay alive. And I was like, what?
We solemnly swear to rarely get the names of characters right.
Princess Wilkins.
No, he's Princess Wilkins now, I'm sorry.
And to periodically serenade you. It's like My Favorite Murder and How Did This Get Made had a kid.
A weird, spooky kid who laughs inappropriately.
No, I hate when people crawl on the ceiling.
They're my nightmares. It's Kim and Kat Stay Alive. Maybe?
Download wherever you listen to podcasts.
Follow us on social media at KKSam Podcast. Bye. Ghosted me.
I'm done.
All right, cool. So there's two
Man, that
promos,
sounds
but now
interesting.
we'll
I
get
can't
to
wait to listen to that.
we'll get to the gold standard of podcast. Patty, tell us all about your podcast.
Gold standard,
That's
Patty.
right.
The setup
Yeah.
is real.
It's like Pod Save America, the Joe Rogan Experience, and Just the Worst podcast.
Wow.
That's really like the epitome of the podcasting world.
Well, I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah. So it's me and my friend Valentina, mostly just complaining about things, bringing up horrible happenings in the world, talking about like the drought and privatizing water, or sometimes we talk about serial killers, or sometimes we just talk about things like the Kardashians and
Oh, the worst.
how annoying Taylor Swift
That is the worst.
That is the worst right there. Stop. You could have just started with that.
That is the worst.
So we get into arguments about that because Valentina is the number one knower of pop culture.
Ugh.
So she happens to actually love the Kardashians. Yeah.
Valentina, that's not me. That's not me making those sounds. That's not me
Valentina,
making
this
the
is why
sounds.
Patty's on our podcast, not you.
Oh, don't say that. Valentine's gonna be next week.
Sorry, Valentina. I'm just
Gandhi
kidding.
still
I
hasn't
do-
gotten
I do
back to
love
me.
She
you.
might.
I
Gandhi
think my
still has
favorite
not
part of your
gotten back to me.
podcast was when you guys were talking about some serial killer documentary you're watching, and I think there was some violence towards dogs, and you both made some comment along the lines of, "God, get past this horrible dog violence and just get to the good stuff like killing humans or something." To
Yes.
that effect.
It's usually kittens. For some reason, serial killers like to kill kittens as practice.
Do they?
And we are not on board with any. That's the only thing we never talk about is animal cruelty in any way because we just can't.
Oh, it's terrible.
We're happy to talk about cruelty to humans.
Yeah.
Someone
not to
once
animals.
asked me if there was someone had a gun to the head of someone I loved, and they gave me a knife and said, you either need to slit this dog's throat or slit this random person's throat. I think I would totally kill the person, not the dog.
Hey, mental note: don't ever get caught in a hostage situation with Tim as his best friend.
Well, no, Steve, I would totally save you unless I had to choose between you and a dog.
Yeah, that's unfair because wait, how old is this dog? Is this dog on its way out anyways?
I don't know. It was a hypothetical, fucking theoretical
Yeah,
fucking
but
thing.
I'm a real person, man. Okay,
you're-
I got real feelings.
You're
I'm
kind
a real
of like
boy.
a caricature of a real person.
Yeah, well, that's true. I am very much a caricature.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, Patty, what's new with you this week? What's going on? What?
what's by the way, Patty is living in New Mexico right now. So if you think that we're all in the same room, you're wrong. You're wrong.
You are
That's
wrong.
right.
This is the magic of editing.
There
And no,
is
I'm not
not-
talking about Disney Plus because fuck that.
There is not
I
a
don't
room
have
that
it
is
yet.
big enough.
I say fuck that. I can't knock it. I haven't even tried it. I think I have it because I have Verizon. So I think Verizon's giving it to everyone for free or something.
No way.
Yeah, I think any Verizon customer gets Disney Plus for free. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if I can watch it on my TV or if that just means I get it on my phone. I'm not entirely sure. But all my friends, like, they have this group, all my nerd friends, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
It's just
I
me,
love
by the
nerd
way,
stuff.
podcast
Steve, you're not
world.
even on the nerd group chat, but the group chat, they were all talking about it, so I don't know. Apparently it was glitchy, but it's cool. I don't fucking know.
All right. But Patty is phoning in from New Mexico. And,
I am. Santa Fe,
Lovely
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Santa Fe.
It's so pretty, but so cold.
Is it really cold right now? How
Yeah,
cold is
because
it?
you
It's
guys are
really
up in
cold right
the.
now.
I guess you have elevation on you, don't you?
It's like 7,500 feet.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
So
And I moved I've lived at sea level my whole life.
So you're
I
higher
lived
than
in
Denver.
Orange County. Yeah.
Wow.
Is it really?
Yeah, Denver's 5280.
Denver's the mile high city, so it's 5280.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, then we are.
Yeah.
For sure.
I drove through New Mexico once. It's beautiful. It's like, but there's not a lot going on.
Nope.
It's very like,
No.
you got to like hiking and shit.
Yeah, you have to like to be outside, which I do. So hiking, walking the dog, riding my horses.
No, I
You
dig
got
it.
horses too? Dang, I got to
I'm
get me
kind
the
of,
Santa Fe life going.
I get kind of jealous of some of your Instagram posts because I'm like, damn, like she's like riding horses and she's out like hiking with her dog and like, yeah, I know, it's cool.
What's that Instagram handle that everyone can find you at, Patty? What's that Instagram handle?
Well, you can find us at Just the Worst Pod for the podcast. And I have a really complicated one for myself, which I think is Patti Larson.
That is pretty complicated.
Slow down now. Slow down now.
That is pretty complicated.
I can't keep up.
You know?
It took me a while to get it.
Dang, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Man, we are branching out here and we're broadening our
And there's
spectrum.
probably like links to our IGs and stuff on Podbelly, right? Isn't there? I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while.
We
You know what? If you put it on there, it is on there.
I think I might have put ours on there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Tim
Yeah.
just put his
And
dating
we're on
profile.
Twitter,
He just put his
JTW
dating
Pod.
profile on there. Ugh.
Yeah, you can find my IG profile on my Tinder profile.
I know.
Yeah,
He put
right.
his Tinder
Oh.
profile knowledge on it. Man,
You
all
know,
right.
Steve,
Have you guys covered Tinder as a topic on your
we
podcast?
have not
no,
covered
there's
Tinder
nothing
yet.
motivational about Tinder.
I don't
Tinder's
know.
a fucking
Getting on that
dumpster fire.
grind, getting on that grind, online dating hustle. I don't know. There's a lot to actually go with that. And honestly, I don't know. I work with a lot of young people. I work with a lot of young, swinging, single people. And I swear, that's like the thing. Like, that is the only thing. That is, you don't meet anybody anymore. Just kind of going to like an event and just saying like, hi. You meet them by like literally just finding out everything you know about them or everything they want you to know about them in like 5 swipes or 5 photos.
So
And where they are.
Yeah,
Are they
where they
within
are,
a mile
yeah.
of me?
oh yes,
the most
here's a
important
bunch of
part.
people that are open to casual fucking that are within a mile from you. Yes.
Exactly.
That is the world we live in. No, I've had horrible experiences with dating apps. I don't use them anymore. But we were actually I think just a week ago, we were talking on one of our podcasts about the show How I Met Your Mother and how that couldn't even exist now because like nobody meets people in bars and stuff anymore.
Yeah, you don't have like face to face, like, hey, you look really pretty. Oh my gosh, or you're funny. Can we chat some more? No, it's like literally like, oh, you're 5 feet away from me and you're DTF right now. Okay, this is
Right?
perfect.
Yeah.
It keeps it very simple.
Yeah, I don't even know if they use DTF by the way anymore. I just might have dated myself.
You
I
might
think they
have.
just-
That
I think
was
they literally send an eggplant and they go, yeah,
Yeah.
question mark.
Eggplant donut? Yeah.
I don't think you can do that anymore.
All right.
can you?
No, I will say that yours truly was once on a dating website many, many years ago when they first started kind of debuting. And I was like, huh. And I always heard that Match.com was the hookup one. You were effing away. You were effing away all night. And then eHarmony was the marriage one. And I was like,
Right.
I was the ripe old age of, I believe I was like 26 or 28. And I was like, yep, time to lock it down. And so I went on.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's just how it was written. You know, obviously someone as beautiful as I am.
Steve has idealistic views, Patty.
I can't be on the streets for too long. You know what I mean? I can't be out there too long.
The crushing force of the world
Untethered.
in real life has kind of grounded him from some of those idealistic views. but-
I say this. I got married when I was 28, so
oh, well, there you go.
See, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. And I swear to gosh, one of the things that I realized was that it didn't matter which website you teamed up on or you went to. It was all just kind of madness. It was all just like everyone had I think multiple people were always part of multiple websites. It was like, oh, I'm on eHarmony, Match, Coffee Meets Bagel,
It's like Coffee
Plenty
Meets
of
Bagel
Fish.
and Zeus.
And I was like, Jesus, you're trying to find the one, or are you trying to find multiple ones? I don't even know. But now I guess,
Well, I fired my Wednesday, so I need to find a new Wednesday.
you need to find a new Wednesday?
It was a joke, as in I have a girl every night of the week, which isn't true because
Oh.
I don't. But
Now, wait, Patty, you said you got married when you were 28.
yes.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I also hear now from people that got married, like, I don't know, before all this kind of stuff or whatever, I don't even know.
Yep.
But they say, God, I don't even know how I could date nowadays. Like, has that ever, for your single friends that are still out there, don't you ever just wonder, like, how are you guys doing this? This is just madness.
You know what? Yeah, no, and they say that too, like how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I still meet people all the time, so I'm not sure how they're not ever meeting anybody. I think
because they're not.
Sure. I don't.
Because you lose that social skill.
I think people
you lose
do.
that
They lose the
skill.
social skills, and I feel
Either
like
that or your expectations get so much higher, or you're like, I think, and this might be a good segue into our topic, as you get older and you get to really understand who you are and what's acceptable to you, your parameters change for who you'll be involved with. So it could just be a fact of like, no, I know this isn't going to work. I know this isn't going to work. And when you're young, you're like, who knows?
Oh my God.
You're
when
like,
I-
Give it a shot.
so she's above a 6.5. Sweet, let's do this.
Exactly.
What was the parameters when you were younger? I swear to gosh.
Like,
you were
I
like,
don't-
oh, she likes me. We're good to go. Or I don't even know what it
Enough.
was.
Right.
She's got a job.
I remember.
She's got a car.
I don't know.
Good
when
enough for me.
Yeah, I don't know when it happened, but I got to the point where like a girl could be a fucking 12, and a lot of the time all she has to do is open her mouth and start talking, and I'm done. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does happen.
It's like
The dating world is vicious,
and
y'all.
maybe it's age, or maybe it's, I don't know, maturity, but it becomes a package deal, I think.
Yeah,
and
well-
like you gotta have at least you gotta fill most of a few different boxes at least.
Isn't that so funny though? As you do get older, you honestly do realize that like, hey, these are some things that I just cannot compromise on. Like I need somebody who like has some goals or something like that, or I
Right.
need somebody that wants to be more settled. I don't know what it is, but yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, another
Yeah,
thing
you start to
matter.
realize that trying to make it work is not necessarily
Yeah,
working.
I can change them. I'm gonna change them.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
you
that
worry.
goes away.
I'm glad we have you here too, because like, I mean,
It gives
our
us a
topic
refreshing
isn't
female
Well,
perspective.
I like having females on our podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need that. We need an infusion of estrogen every now and again. Steve can't carry
My
the-
estrogen's
carry
not
the
enough,
load.
huh? You son of a bitch.
But no, but it's also cool because on the subject of relationships, you know, you being married, you bring a different perspective than us two fucking spinsters over here.
Have either of you ever been married?
Now,
No, we're still waiting. But don't worry.
Still on Match.com.
Yeah.
not on anything right now. But yeah, so Patty, as you mentioned, I think that's a great segue into our topic.
Segue.
Today we are talking about better with age, because I think, I don't know, Steve and I were talking about this, and we were like, hey, we need a good topic for Patty, because
And can I just say that it made me laugh because people make fun of me all the time for my ancient status, that was the topic you guys decided to talk about with me.
Oh,
it had nothing to do with your ancient status. It was all three of us together having something to talk about for this.
Patty, to our viewing or listening audience, you are 22. You just graduated. You just graduated at Malibu City College, and you're just living the dream.
I have no idea what your age is, Patty, and I'm not even going to ask. That's up to you. But I
22.
just kind of
She said
assumed we
22.
were all somewhere in the same category.
well, and
I'm
this.
like older than everybody.
Oh,
I doubt that.
I'm 46.
hell yeah. Hell yeah. Now, one of the biggest things about getting better with age is knowing what you want, and also how, and as our podcast always kind of goes about, we're all about building people up. As you get older, sometimes, and I've heard this so many times, oh, I'm getting older, and sometimes people have this sense of doom, like, oh, I just can't do the things anymore. But I'm telling you, one of the most biggest times of my life is when I was going through my 20s, and I could do anything, sleep on a couch, go surf and do whatever I wanted to, eat whatever I wanted to, drink whatever I wanted to.
Yeah, but you were an idiot.
But I was an idiot. That's right. No, it's arguable. ... Some of my coworkers that are listening to this, they go, he's still an idiot.
Well,
But-
me too. But
But when I hit 30 years old, and I'm not saying anything, like 30 years old is not old by any stretch of the means, but when I hit 30 and I was older in my life's scale, I remembered having this sense of confidence that I never had before. And then as I hit 35, I was like, oh, I'm really, really confident. I'm even more confident because I just like we were alluding to earlier, there were things that I wanted to do in life and that I wasn't willing to compromise on. And there were things that I knew that I wanted to become. And I wasn't necessarily bumbling around like I was in my 20s, where I was, you know, maybe I had the ability to kind of rebound or compensate, or had the body or had the looks or whatever, ... But I just didn't have the confidence to back everything up, you know? And now as I get a little bit older and I'm losing a little lettuce on top and my belly's getting a little bit bigger, I have way more confidence. And you know what? I always am envious. This is like the one thing I was envious of when I was
talking
like,
about losing hair.
no, well, I mean, I lost some hair today with my
Okay,
haircut.
Patty, I don't know if you know. You probably don't know what Steve looks like. He has like
the-
the,
a 6
the
foot
most
four.
beautiful head of hair ever. It's like
ripped.
this just beautiful, like shiny black hair. Basically, like his hair is like probably likened to like your prettiest horse's mane.
Ooh.
Wow.
Black
Okay.
stallion, but yellow stallion.
Telling you, the
Thank
dude
you for
tries.
making it relatable.
Yeah.
Samson, you know what? I try.
My Samsonitic locks. But no, one of the things is, remember when you were like a kid, like growing up, and you went to the gym, YMCA, whatever, in Santa Barbara, okay? And you were in the locker room just putting away your stuff, and you saw that old ass man walking around the locker room.
And I was like, I wish he was still wearing his towel.
Put on a fucking towel, bro. But he didn't care, right? Because he was 60 or whatever. I don't know. Just make up an age that's older than all of us. And then he's just walking around and he's just flopping around. You're like, ugh, gross. But he doesn't care, though, right?
That is, as far as getting like really old, that's one part of that I look forward to is the fact that
walking
you just
around.
no, not specifically that, but just the whole like not giving a fuck about
Not
anything.
giving an F. Not giving
The
an
thing that I look forward to the most is being able to just be totally obnoxious and crazy and nobody judges you for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So same thing. Yeah. Same
She's
kind of,
old. Let her be.
I love it. Yeah.
Let her be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't mind Uncle Jerry's racist comments. He's just from a different era.
I will say this, and I'm as a healthcare provider. Sometimes at the hospital, we get obviously the elderly people, and they make all sorts of comments, whether that be dated from the times in which they were younger, or they just kind of start screaming, or they're just kind of nasty. And we're so forgiving of it because we're just like, oh, that's just they're just older, they're just elderly, they're just losing their minds. But I don't think they care. Yeah, and it's almost like, oh, okay. I don't necessarily want to get to that point where I'm losing my mind, but at the same time, I do want to get to that point where
that's horrible.
No one cares.
Well, see,
People
this
are
is
just so
one of
accepting.
the benefits of being married is my husband and I have an agreement that if either one of us gets to the point where it doesn't look like we're having fun being alive anymore, we're obligated to take them out. So
Ooh, that is fucking fantastic.
yeah.
Till death
So-
or
Steve, as long as we're both single, we need to make that same deal.
Dude, trust
There
me,
you go. You guys can do it for each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna be alive way longer. I've been taking my vitamins, my
I think
Flintstones.
so. Patty, this topic had nothing to do with your age whatsoever. It was more that we were talking about because I feel like our mindsets and kind of our views on things have changed so much since, and it's cool because Steve and I have known each other, since we were in high school.
Too
So
damn
yeah, it's too long. I'm pretty much
I've been
ready
trying to get rid of him. Actually, Patty, this is where I shove him off to you. He's now a part of Just the Worst podcast. Project Reclamation is
now.
mine.
It's like podcast draft.
Yep.
You could just trade hosts and stuff.
Hot
it's a safe
potato.
surrender. I'm just
I love
giving you.
it.
I'm just
I love it.
woefully giving him to you, Patty.
But like
you
I
have to
think
go.
I think when I was like, a teenager, like, 18 or 17 or whatever, I thought like, oh yeah, college is gonna be so cool when you're in college. And I think I don't know that you look forward to your 30s. And then when you're in your 30s, I don't know that you necessarily look forward to your 40s, but I feel like if you do things right and you kind of like, steer into the curve, I feel like in so many ways, more ways than not, things keep getting better. I feel like I'm way better in my 30s, and I feel like I'm still kind of a kid too. So I got a lot to go, But
You act like a kid. You're not
my
a kid,
parents
bro.
they both got super healthy and ran their first half marathon at 50.
Damn.
So it's like, and they're both, they're both in their late 50s and they're probably healthier and happier than they've ever been. So I'm like, that's so cool to me because I'm like, wow, like I could be better then than I could be better 20, 30 years from now than I am now. And that's,
Yeah, I think it really is a state of mind.
oh, for sure. 100%, as Mr. Rogan would say.
100%.
Yeah. But for me, I think it's in my mind, I'm much more settled. I'm much more comfortable with who I am. I don't worry about being judged anymore. I don't, you start to care less about what the world thinks of you in general.
Less
And the
fucks
thing
given.
that sucks about being young, like you were talking about, being capable of staying out all night and then going surfing or sleeping on a couch or whatnot. And yeah, you can do all that.
Yes, you can.
But like for most of the girls I know, you're constantly judging yourself as a young woman on how you look, and you never look good enough. You never look
Isn't
good as
that
everybody
crazy?
else. And then you get older and you look back and you're like, why did I waste so much time thinking about that? Like,
I know.
and you stop worrying about it so much, and it's just such a relief to just like, oh no, you know what? I'm all right as a person. I don't
Oh my
have
gosh.
to worry about that so much.
No, and that's not the end all be all. And like I said earlier, you could put all what I feel like some people do, especially younger people, they put all their work into looking good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this beautiful facade of a house. But then when you open the door, you realize it's just a fucking Hollywood set and there's nothing inside.
Oh, can I just, so I used to, when I still lived in California and it would go out on occasion, like go to bars, go see bands play, whatever. And if you go into the women's bathroom and there's like 5 21-year-olds talking to each other. It's the most obnoxious. And I know I was that person.
Of course you were that person. Everyone was that. Yeah.
God, it's just so dramatic.
When you look back on that, it just makes you cringe, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And the thing is I got sober when I was very young.
Oh, you
so
did?
I at least don't have I was 19 when I got sober.
Wow.
So I've been sober for a
I want to have
long
another
time.
conversation about that one.
So I didn't have some of the terrible, embarrassing things that others do, but yeah, it's tough listening to 21-year-old drunk girls.
Oh my gosh.
No.
I always tell the people like the story. It's so funny, and this has nothing to do. I'm not bagging on any women or anything like that, but one of the situations is kind of alluding to what we were talking about is that I used to date this very, very beautiful person back in Virginia, and Tim knows this, so he knows this too well. And I remember she came out here, and clearly she was the best person for me. But we're not and she's now my wife. Oh my God. No.
I mean,
all jokes aside,
the funny thing is, to get her to show up, Steve had to sacrifice a goat and light some shit on fire and say a fucking seance.
She was obsessed with the Kardashians.
He had to look in the mirror, turn off the lights, and say her name 3 times.
Yeah, she was obsessed with just her look, which was fine. I mean, she was in her 20s, she was in her young 20s. She was just she was very, very sheltered by her parents. She's just a small town person, but she was blessed with a great, a great physique and a great like a look to her, right? So I was like, okay, great. And I remember she came out to visit me one time, and we were like, I had everything planned. And
she doesn't listen to this podcast, does she?
Even if she does, it doesn't matter because
she doesn't now.
She missed it. Yeah, I know she doesn't now. Click. But no, and I remembered it was like I took
That's
her
a
out.
listener I'm willing to lose.
I know that's definitely a listener that we're definitely willing to lose.
Something.
No. But it's just at this point I was young too, and I was like stupid. And you think like, oh, okay, as I get older with age, I also get better with my mindset too. And I realized that people sometimes need to kind of go. Sometimes people need to fall by the wayside. And she was definitely one of them. And like, I think it was so funny because she would go, and I remember we were going to go out to Little Italy in here in San Diego, wonderful place. And then, I remember she was getting ready. She spent 2 hours getting ready, and I was just waiting. And I was like, oh my God. We went to dinner the whole time from like leaving my place to actually getting to dinner to having dinner. And then coming back was like about an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, it was so quick. She didn't order anything. She didn't want to eat anything because she was trying to still stay nice and trim and slim. And then I was like, wow, so you spent longer getting ready than we actually did going and actually having the event. And as soon as she got back, she's like, oh, now I got to take off all my makeup. And it took her another 45 minutes to take off everything else. And I was like, oh, Lord, I can't imagine feeling that way. And honestly, It's so good that we have you here to provide like a little bit, obviously, the only female perspective on this subject.
I have to kind of, I made a lot of noises and said a lot of things. I have to kind of explain myself now. Well, not really. Patty, have you ever had a good friend? I'll assume she was a girl, and she was dating a guy who just wasn't good for her.
Yes, all of them.
Okay, so
you've just been to all of their weddings, though, Patty,
including me. I've been there.
Well, no, I've every woman I've ever dated for the most part has been horrible for me, and
Yeah.
But the problem is that the person who's dating the person who's horrible for them, they don't want to listen to you, but you're just watching them get dragged down into the abyss, and like there's nothing you can do about it for the most part.
Don't oversell it, my friend.
So then you have to figure out how to use the dark web and figure out how to hire a hitman and maybe have that person killed because you figure that might be the only way out of the whole thing. So anyway, that was the situation we were in with this one. So except for the last part, that was hyperbole, but. Anyways.
Classic.
But I think the cool thing is, you said you have to get rid of people in your life sometimes, Steven. And I think when you get older, you realize like, hey, I have 3 really good friends and like 20 people that I could call and they'd be down to, move a couch or bury a body for me. And I think you get just comfortable with that. Like, I don't need to know, like maybe I have a bunch of friends on Facebook, but it's cool to keep in touch with people. But ultimately, like you don't need to have a ton of friends. And I love going on friend diets. It's when I change my number and then I decide who gets my new number.
Well, we did start our whole discussion tonight talking about the fact that it's Friday night and all 3 of us are having big plans after
and we're totally cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going.
Couldn't care. Yeah,
I am 100% at peace and happy with doing nothing tonight.
Club Home Depot is calling me.
Club Home Depot is calling Steve's name.
Club Safeway is calling yours.
Yeah, I've got to get some groceries. So
you got to go get some groceries. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'll watch a horror movie. I don't know.
But the biggest thing in the world is it's so funny because I think when I was younger, for sure, and Patty, maybe you can also speak to this too. I don't know what your experience was as a young female, but it was just, I was I wanted to be liked so much. I still do. I don't think I ever not want to be liked, but I wanted to be liked so much so that I would just take on everybody and as a friend, as a newcomer, and trying to appease everybody. But now it's just obviously it's a little different in the sense where if you don't match up with the values or you don't match up with the things that I want to do, or at least the things I have interest in, then it's just how is this going to work as a friendship? How is this going to work out as a pairing? And I'm okay with that. You have to have that kind of a little bit of confidence to kind of be okay to just not drop somebody, but just kind of, like I said, leave people behind, or at least kind of acknowledge that you may have outgrown whatever, what their purpose was in your life for that moment that they were in it. And yeah, it's just not like they're going to get in the way of your success, but yeah, maybe it's just time to kind of advance yourself or move forward, and you have to be okay with all of that.
Oh, for sure. And they do the same. People just grow apart in general too, right? Like they grow one direction and you grow a different one. Or
so true.
I have a couple friends that stayed stuck in their mid-20s,
Mm-hmm.
and that's cool
Still
too.
going
Like
out to the
I try not
clubs.
to judge that, because if that's working for them and they're having
If
a
that
good
makes them
time and
happy,
they're
then at least they know that.
Yeah. I might not want to be involved, but
No, I don't.
I need you to pick me up. Pick me up.
right. Yeah, those days are over.
Like, homie, dude, the frosted tips. No, it's not working for you,
Oh
dude.
God, yeah, I have a
That
few
leather
of them.
bracelet, you're 42 years old, son. That needs to go.
Wait, these aren't in anymore? Oh my God. Holy smokes. What have I not? Oh my gosh.
But sometimes that makes people happy. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at it, if it's someone I give crap about, if whatever they're doing, if they're doing it for themselves, I totally support it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of where
Yeah, I don't know how long you can maintain doing something for somebody else as you get older. Like it's just unsustainable. You can't
I mean, you just
pretend to be somebody else or to be into something.
Yeah,
forever,
but I mean, if you're doing, I mean, look at these people that are in these relationships. I think guys and girls alike who, they keep a job or they go get a bunch of plastic surgery, and it's all to make their partner or this other person happy, and like that just makes me sad. That's
yeah.
fucking horrible.
Now, here's a quick ditty. Tim, what's something that you have noticed that has gotten better with age with you, brother? Talk to that. Speak to that if you can.
I mean, I think our overwhelming topic here, or whatever subject matter of this topic is just the whole being more comfortable in your own skin, being more comfortable with yourself, and not caring as much or giving a fuck as much about like superficial stuff or what people think, because that it's a cheesy cliche, but that whole those who matter don't mind and those who mind don't matter. I mean, there's a lot to that, and I mean, I think
cliches.
I think that you start caring more about the stuff in your life that matters. Like in my 20s, I think I was trying to, be more impressive to people. But now I'm like in my 30s, I'm, my late 30s, almost 40s. Like I'm working on trying to, do things that make me better as a person. Like, and some of those are health and like, getting more jacked, but it's for me, not for anybody else, or, learning stuff. Like I love learning. And like, that's why I listen to a lot of podcasts. I like being entertained. That's why I listen to a lot of other podcasts.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
So yeah, I think for me, it's just the most important, the biggest thing is just being more comfortable with me, and like knowing that like I'm the one that matters. Not that sounds horrible, but it's fucking true though. Like I'm the one that
you are the one that matters. That is horrible.
But I like doing shit for other people, especially the people in my life who I care about. But those are people who would probably do stuff for me. Not that I require it, but I just went
Requirements
off
for
the fucking
Tim
rails
Fletcher.
on that one. So Patty, let's kick the same question to you.
Oh, I would say that I'm kinder and less judgmental. And that, as you get older and you go through life experiences or you see other people do it, you realize that you're going to survive and be okay. So I'm not as anxiety ridden or dramatic about things anymore, because it's like,
100%.
oh, well,
I like that.
What were you dramatic
this happen.
before about? Like, what was it that you would be dramatic about? I mean, just obviously I didn't know you back then, but yeah, what was it that you'd be so dramatic about? Like, I just, talking to you, you're so peaceful.
So I have some anxiety issues, but
Sure.
I would get convinced that I was going to be fired, and that if I get let go, then the whole I just couldn't comprehend what that would mean in my life, and now it hasn't happened still. So clearly, that was a dumb thing to be worried about.
You've never been laid off or fired?
No.
Oh, congratulations! I've been.
What does that feel like?
I've been both. Yeah.
But I have laid people off, and I have lived through people being laid off or fired, and have found out that for the most part, they end up somewhere that was better suited to them anyway, right?
You know,
or
my mom
your life
always-
doesn't usually fall apart, and you don't end up on the street.
No.
So
It's like my mom always says, oh, everything happens for a reason. And when something bad has just happened, that is the last shit you want to hear.
Right.
Because you're like, no, fuck you, mom, blah, blah, blah. And then like 3 or 6 months later, you're like, God damn it, she was right.
it's really true. A lot of, I think and because I've had to let people go, and it's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I've had to, just know the experience I've seen other people go through was that if you're not doing well at a job, you're not happy. Nobody likes to not be doing well. A lot of times that's where it stems from. And you're just hanging on because you're afraid to make a change, right? And so like sometimes somebody else has to come in and force that change. But it usually ends up like that person wasn't happy either. So I think it does usually work out. It's just that it's a scary thing to change. And I think that's another thing that as I got older, my husband and I, we moved to New Mexico close to on a whim. Like we came out here once, saw it, fell in love with it, sold our house, started building a house out here.
I love that.
So
that's a baller move, y'all. Baller move.
Yeah. Quit a job I'd had for 7 years where I was pretty high up in the organization and just bailed on that and went to work for a startup as kind of a low level whatever, just because I needed to do something different. So I think that fear of change and of what life is going to throw at you kind of diminishes a bit.
A little bit, yeah. Well, I think in those situations too, it just depends on how you your outlook on the whole thing.
For sure.
Because if you approach like something terrible, like getting fired with like, oh, I'm just my life's gonna fall apart. Like it probably could, because if you don't, but you gotta have a positive attitude about it. And I feel like it's easier to kind of take, like you said, I think the fear diminishes a little bit. And I think there's also like, I don't know, for me anyways, it's like, when you throw me into a challenge, I feel like I do even better than like when a challenge is kind of put in front of me. Like when I'm just faced, like I don't have a choice. Like, I just got thrown out of the plane. Now I got to figure out how to open this damn parachute because I don't know how it works, but I'll figure it out before I hit the ground.
In a weird way, it makes you feel alive,
100%. Yeah. When you may have been in that job as just kind of a drone robot because you'd been there for too long.
Yep.
And you're just kind of going through the motions. And I feel like a lot of people just go through the motions these days. And a little wake up calls it's not usually a bad thing.
No, it's good. You figure out, you learn about what your strengths are and just how to stick through things. That knowing that things aren't going to be the same forever. Like if you feel shitty today, you're probably not going to feel shitty in a week.
No.
Or whatever. Just knowing that it might take some time, but it's all going to sort itself out.
Also, another cool thing about when you hit rock bottom or you get thrown to the wolves or something bad happens to you, you'll really see who's worth keeping in your life.
For sure.
And then that's a good, like anybody who wasn't, and like they don't have to help you out with money or anything, but anybody who didn't like, reach out or wasn't there for you when you had nothing to offer, like those are people you might think about just deleting from your fucking feed. And by feed, I mean life.
By feed, you mean life. Well, when I got sober, I thought it was really interesting because I had some friends that I used to party with a lot that wouldn't hang out with me anymore. And turns out that those were the people that were actually my friends, right? Like, because they're like, no, we're still not doing good shit, but you're doing good. So you stay over there.
That's interesting. I like that.
That's a really, really cool
cool
perspective, honestly.
And when they ended up getting sober, we got to be friends again.
Do you want to share? Can I ask what made you make that decision?
Oh, the worst day of my life. Yeah. So it was kind of a combination of losing I moved out of the place I was living because I was terrified of the people I was living with. And I couldn't figure out how to get it.
That's a good enough reason right there.
Yeah. So I moved back to my mom's house, and then I was working down the street, and I went to work one day, and my boyfriend took my car to go get some drugs and bring them back to me at work and got arrested while he was doing that. So my car got impounded. My boyfriend went to jail. I didn't have the drugs I needed. And I was at work. So yeah. And then I got home and my mom told me I had to leave. So I was like, God damn
my
it. I
gosh,
lost my
wow.
job, my boyfriend, my car, and my house all at once.
Wow.
So I'm a total wuss, by the way. So I was like, I'm not going to go call everybody I know and get on the street. I'll just go to rehab for a little while and then pretend that I'm all about getting sober, and then they'll let me out.
And then it
I
worked?
can go back to normal. Yes. And it totally worked on accident. I had
That's
no
very
intention of
cool.
getting sober.
Now, wait, how did you? Why? What do you think accredits that to it working? Because usually I hear all the time. I'm reading a book called Dopes. What is it? Dopesick? Dopesic?
Dopesic?
But yeah, dope. No, but short of the long is that they say
He's
that
making fun of me because I was looking at the book trying to figure out what the title was.
This is from an earlier podcast. I'm still making fun of Tim about it.
And then I realized, wow, I'm an idiot. It's literally just dope sick. Okay, cool. Way to go, Tim.
It's like dopesic.
I was like trying to overthink it, like it
Yeah.
was some like
You put the
medical
wrong,
term that I didn't
emphasis
know.
on the wrong
I'm
syllable.
Like dopesic,
Yeah.
dopesic, dopesique. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Thanks,
short of the
Steve.
long is
You're an
that sometimes it takes people 6 times. Like on average, it takes people 6 times to get better. And honestly, I don't know who's listening, but I do know that a lot of people listen to this. Well, dozens of people listen to this podcast. And so honestly, like, what do you think credits that to working? Honestly, the first time, was it just because you had nowhere else to go, because you had no other step? Like that was it, or it was nothing else? Like
That was
I don't know if
that was a big one. Also that I was, like I said, I was kind of a wuss. So I didn't really want to go out and actually live on the street. My older sister did that. And she just passed away from that disease, from drug
sorry to
addiction
hear that.
a couple months ago. But yeah, I think it was that I just really had no other option. And then I figured like I would just play along until they let me out.
Yeah.
And then I could go back to doing my normal thing. And my parents wouldn't think, I was very young, right? So it was all about my parents.
You were super young. You were just a kid.
Paying for me again. So I started doing the stuff they said to do because I wanted to get out of there faster.
Yeah.
And by doing the stuff they said to do, I actually started wanting to be sober. So
crazy.
Well, and then
That's
did it
I
also
fucked
have to-
myself.
Was it also? Well, no, you saved yourself a shit ton of money.
Yes, I did, 100%. But at the time, that's what I was
saved
thinking.
yourself so much money. Because I didn't. I'm definitely not sober, and I never have been. But yeah, I had an experience where I was the one that got arrested, and that was honestly one of the best things that ever happened to me because it was a wake up call that I needed at that time in my life. And I wasn't much. I was about to say probably the same age. No, I was maybe 20, 21. Yeah.
What was like the big takeaway for me? I know we talked about this in an earlier episode, but
It was a big takeaway for me. I was sitting in a fucking jail cell. I mean, this is not how this fucking story goes, dude.
Good
Yeah.
God.
But
Starting
then
that cycle is no good.
And then after that, I overcorrected like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
I
I
went
did
and I
too.
got involved in. Oh yeah, because I was going to San Diego State at the time, so I moved out of my apartment. I moved in with a buddy of mine from my fraternity who was like the freaking vice president of the student body. And then I was like, Josh, dude, just give me shit to do. Just give me shit to do because I needed to keep myself busy and I needed to make myself look good for the court hearings that happened later on. But so I got him to put me on all these committees, and I started, just doing whatever I could, like volunteering places and stuff, and then I ended up getting. I shouldn't be telling the story on a podcast in case anyone listens.
I have made that mistake, and I finally just was like, oh wow, I've told some stories I probably
No, I've already told this story on this podcast a dozen times.
Oh, okay.
Just think about it though. Like think about just someone who stumbles across this podcast and listens to it and just says, "Oh man, I'm going through some tough times," because all we're about
for
is
sure.
reclaiming yourself. Right?
What I'm about to tell you is a funny legal thing. So meth apparently in California can be a misdemeanor or a felony, whereas cocaine is an automatic felony.
Are you kidding?
So-
Do you
and
think
I would
that's
say-
a result of the whole
War on drugs.
It's money.
Yeah,
It's
and
because
like the targeting
it's
African
targeting the. No, I don't.
Oh, I
think
didn't even
so.
think about that.
Because that would be
That's
the
what
opposite.
the whole crack epidemic was
Well,
about.
maybe.
Was that they got
I
harder
always-
on it because it was mostly an African
You might be right there. I kind of always assumed it's because if we're talking, I think crack is a different category. I don't think it's the same.
It's not. I don't think.
Maybe not. Okay, well then you may be honest with me. I kind of assumed it had something to do with cocaine being kind of the rich man's drug.
Hey
and,
Alexa,
it's always
is
a
crack
better-
the same as
Well, crack is cocaine
It's
it's melted down with baking soda.
I don't know that answer.
I know it is the
Why
same
are
thing,
you
but whether it's
asking me?
legally the same.
So I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if I have different crime codes or whatever. But anyway, so what I was supposed to plead guilty to was 3 years probation, 60 days in jail. And so because I had done all this, because I had totally overcorrected and did all this stuff, the judge had like a dozen letters in his hand, like character reference letters for me. And the judge looks at the whole thing and I'm like, fuck it. If I have to spend 60 days in jail, that's fine. I'll do it. Let's just get this shit over with, because it was a good wake up call for me. I moved into a better place. I was doing way cooler things. And, the judge looks at it and he goes, you know what? You seem like a good kid who's just made some really fucking stupid decisions. I don't see how you sitting in jail for 60 days is going to do anyone any good. So unless someone has an issue with this, and you better not, I'm changing it to 300 hours community service.
That's incredibly lucky.
Yeah, that is really lucky,
but see, I busted my ass to get all those letters in his hands so that he had a reason to say that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So total aside, I lived at El Conquistador.
You lived in the Conch? Oh
I did when I was 17. And that was a lot of fun.
Well, explain what El Conquistador is.
Pretty Pink Palace.
I live here in San Diego, and I have yet to be there or go there or know what that is.
The Conch
I believe that's a Mexican restaurant.
Dude, you know FT in Santa Barbara?
Yeah.
The Conch is it's a carbon copy of FT, and the same company built it, and the same company used to own it, but now they've changed. Now it's like something Towers, University Towers or something.
Sure, something nice.
So at the time, it was a private dorm.
Yeah, it was a dorm.
Yeah, and I didn't actually go to San Diego State. I went to one of the community colleges
Mesa?
down there. What was the other one?
Grossmont or Mesa?
I went to Grossmont. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, nice.
I think.
Nice.
And I lived at El Conch, and that was the first time I ever moved out of my house. I was 17, and that went badly, but it was really fun.
That's an honest reflection about times in the dormitories.
So then if you go down towards from the Conch, if you go down towards, you go down the road and then kind of around to the cliff, those old ass brick dorms, that's where I lived.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, they were being torn down the next year, so nobody gave a shit about us back in the. And we were kind of like far away from campus, so we used to just bring like kegs in the windows and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was great.
San Diego State,
big party place.
Oh, the Conch, dude, the Conch was a big party. Even
I want to give a new shout out to our newest sponsor, San Diego State.
Yeah, San Diego State, who just put their whole fucking Greek system on suspension because some fucking kid died.
Oh, seriously?
I want to give a shout out to our newest sponsor, San Diego State Greek system.
Hey,
hello.
Kids, you can have fun without being stupid and killing people. It's true.
Yeah. I didn't find that to be true down there at all. I don't think people were aware of that. There was a lot of stupid, unsafe behavior.
We are from Santa Barbara. We know all about stupid.
So
we know all about that.
16,
there's a place called
Isla Vista.
Isla Vista. Shout out to you guys.
So I went
You're next on our
there
list.
for Halloween when I was 16.
Good
16. Good gosh.
And my brothers were so proud of me. It was hilarious. They're like,
I'm
she knows
proud of
where
you.
she-
At the same time, I was concerned. I'm surprised
feel
you
like
made it back.
like when it comes to like being like partying and having fun and doing stupid shit, I feel like you fit into less than 20 years what it takes most
Yes.
people their entire lives to fucking do.
You made a deal with the devil or God, and you were like, "Hey, I'm just gonna bust through this." Like,
But you know what's cool though?
Before I can
you've been
really
sober
get in
for over
trouble
20
for it.
years, and I bet you have no regrets. Like you're never like, well, God, I wish I had tried more fucking ecstasy or whatever. Like you're like, I did it. I had fun and it was great. I mean, is that true?
It's 100%. The great thing about the way I did it was I did way too much, way too young, but had a blast. Was still young enough to not really get in trouble, even if I got caught.
Well, and your body probably handled it a hell of a lot better.
Point.
Yeah, and managed to get sober and really not have that much wreckage.
No,
because I was a little behind in school, but not too much. I didn't have to explain huge gaps in my resume. I didn't have tons of money to pay back. I didn't have to do any
I
of
didn't even
that.
think about that.
This gap was rehab. This gap was more rehab.
I see that you haven't worked for 6 years.
You see, my friend Steve tells me that I have to do rehab 6 times before it
I know.
takes.
On average,
I was on a self-awareness thing, and I went away for 6 months to the desert. So it was great because I got to do a lot of crazy stuff and then get my shit together and still be sort of nuts through my 20s, but not in a way that was dangerous, So,
damn.
I had
in a way where you could always hop in your car and safely remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
Here I am talking about sleeping on couches and going surfing whenever I want to. You guys lived up your 20s. I mean, geez, you guys did everything. I was just sleeping on a wood floor, and I was like, oh, okay. I woke up. Oh, that was it. Good God. I'm jealous. I will tell you that both.
So that's why you're drinking coffee on your sticker.
Yeah.
And Valentina's drinking wine.
Exactly.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's making so much sense.
I'm the teetotaler. She's the drinker.
It's all right. Hey, I don't judge.
Neither do I. I mean, it's your life. You got to do what you got to do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I told you about this topic, you said you had so much to share. Are we missing anything?
I don't think so. I mean, just that whole, if you're young and you're anxious and you're worried about stuff all the time, and if you think getting old is terrible, it's really not. I mean, the physical part is tough sometimes. Like, I physically can't do all the things I used to be able to do. My body hurts more than it should.
Little bit,
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally, I just feel so much better.
I know.
It's
100%. Yeah.
It's
Isn't that great?
pretty great, actually. Like, so many things seem inconsequential that used to be so important.
Do you listen to country music, Patty?
Neither do I. Don't worry.
Neither does Steve. I was just
Patty, you're not alone in this conversation. You're not alone in this podcast. Don't worry.
There's a Brad Paisley song
Yeah,
called
not
"Letter
Brad
to Me,"
Paisley.
and it's all about him writing. Well, I don't even listen to music. I listen to podcasts, but it's kind of a cool song because it's about him writing a letter at his present age to himself at 17, and a lot of it is like, don't worry about this. Like, literally everything's gonna be fucking cool. Because it will be. And you know what? Just do your best. And, if you're young, do your best, because guess what? Things keep getting better. And if you're, if you're a little older like we are, then I'm not that old. I mean, dude, shit just keeps getting better, and it's awesome.
But I would also say that if you're, don't just count on things to get better on their own necessarily. Like,
That's a
do the
good
work.
point.
If you know you're fucking up, if you know you're doing something that you really don't like about yourself, do the work to change it. It's not impossible. It sucks sometimes, but
But so
it really
rewarding
feels
at
better on the
though.
other end.
Well, and then like us, we're talking about, God, I wish our minds had been as advanced when our bodies were better than they are now. Like, when I could, jump off of roofs and shit and survive, when I could do stupid shit, when I could drink 3 days in a row.
Yeah. But you probably wouldn't have.
No, I wouldn't have. 'Cause I was dumb. I still am dumb, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And all those things make you who you are, which I think is pretty cool too. So,
Yeah.
all your dumb mistakes are the things that really help you figure out who you are.
Oh,
and help you find out how
100%.
strong you are.
I have often said, and I will say again, I think the two best things that ever happened to me were getting arrested and getting fired.
Okay. Now,
See,
what did you
isn't
learn
that interesting?
About? You told
Your
us about
mom was
getting
right.
you told us about getting arrested. What'd you learn by getting fired? What's up with that?
I learned that I was selling my soul to a job that I liked it sometimes. I didn't love it. I had no work-life balance, and things needed to change.
Fair enough.
So yeah, and that was the first. That was when I got fired. This time I got laid off. It's different, and this one didn't really change my life at all. It's just I'm changing directions, and I'm just gonna diversify my resume a little bit. And I just had a good interview with a company where I would cover a bunch of states, including New Mexico. Patty.
Ooh.
Hey.
Good old swapcast happening. A future swapcast happening. Honestly, I would say this more than anything else to everyone that's listening right here, right now. One of the biggest things that I kind of appreciated as I got a little bit more longer in the tooth is that I am so much more appreciative of time. Time is like, it's not, I'm not anywhere near death's door, I don't think, but
Steve's running
not
out of
yet.
it.
Not yet. I drive my Prius pretty fast, though, on these surface streets here in San
Steve.
Diego. But one of the things
Crazy
is,
man, you.
well, yeah, but I think when I was younger, I just thought, you have so much time left, or, oh, don't worry, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next year. I'll get around to it. And it's like now, it's like I appreciate the days that I have off, just to kind of relax or reflect. And maybe I'm a little too reflective. I don't know, but it's just. I'm very, very appreciative. Not only, and I say this in all jest here, Patty. I'm very, very appreciative of my time, and I'm very, very appreciative of everyone else's time too. And I say that in jest because we started this podcast very, very late with Patty, and we told her we just pushed it back. So that doesn't mean necessarily not
So
appreciating
one thing
your
I've
time.
learned being in New Mexico is that people do things on their own goddamn time around here. So you just go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Are there? You got a lot of Indian reservations out there.
Yes.
I had a friend that lived on the res, and he would always, his family lived on the res. He didn't, but he would always tell me, "Oh no, dude, it's res time."
Exactly. So so I have my son is originally from Burma, so
Okay.
we have a family joke that he runs on Burmese time, which is just whenever. Like they don't have a, I'll be there at 6. They say I'll be there at 6, and then like 9:30 they roll in. So it's just
it was close enough to 6 as I could get it.
Yeah, you know, we started thinking about it at 6.
That's great.
So yeah,
That's great.
it's pretty much the same as rest
Who
time.
knew that I was running on Burmese time this whole time?
Right?
Oh my
So you just
gosh.
tell people
Who
I'm on
knew?
Burmese time, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, and dude, it's not. I don't know. You're out of the hustle and bustle
Out
of
here.
the Bay
Being
Area,
in- being
and that must
in-
be nice.
Being in Santa Fe?
Yeah.
So it really is. It's an interesting. Like I'm super laid back, and now but my company hasn't slowed down, right? So I still have to oh yeah, I work for a company that's in Silicon Valley. I gotta keep
Well,
up
that's
some
cool
energy.
that you work remotely.
Yeah, they were really
That's
great
awesome.
about that.
Is one of the hardest parts for you living in New Mexico now? Is one of the hardest parts for you knowing that Vince Gilligan has taken over that city in Albuquerque, and now you have to deal with all those people that are trying to do the Breaking Bad BS and go there and try and relive the spots like people used to do
There's
with
tours.
Lord of the Rings.
You can do a Breaking
Fucking
Bad tour.
serious?
Of the house
You
and the
can
different
take a
spots.
tour of the meth labs. Go on. What is all this about?
Yeah,
Tim
of
knows a little bit
whatever.
about this. He was busted with meth back when he was in college.
fake meth?
Fake
Yeah.
meth when he was back in college.
I think the meth labs might have been a set, but like the house and some others, I don't know what you see, but you can go on a Breaking Bad tour. But I live about an hour outside of Albuquerque, so I don't ever deal with that.
So
Good.
I was when I was at Comic-Con in San Diego earlier this year, and I went to this panel that I thought was really cool. It was like the science of movies and television shows. And the panel was made up of the scientific consultant for Game of Thrones, the one for Marvel, and the one for Breaking Bad. And the one for Breaking Bad was the funniest because she was like, yeah, you know, Vince likes to get most of things right, and he runs them by me. And if I tell him that's not realistic or that's not going to happen, usually he listens. But then he came to me one day. He's like, what if we made the meth blue? And she's like, it wouldn't be blue. It would be white. There's no reaction, no world where your meth would be blue, sir. He's like, well, what if it was really pure? She's like, then it would be really white. He goes, well, what if it was really, really pure? She goes, then it would be really, really white. And she's like, so I told him it was a dumb idea, but the meth ended up blue, and that's okay. But
Well,
now
it
I
can
guess,
be a lovely, crystalline. That's very
yeah,
Crystalline.
like almost. It's not even white. It's like it's like glass, right?
It's glass.
well,
or it's
that's
like crystal.
yeah, and but then when you turn that glass into powder, it looks white.
It looks white. Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. Love us talking
Yeah.
about
I
it.
agree. Not that I know from personal experience, but that's what I've heard.
I only know about it through AMC. Thank you, AMC, and also Netflix, who allows me to stream it continuously.
Yes. Thanks, Disney Plus and all the whatever.
Disney Plus wants
freaking-
nothing to do with Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
sure they
maybe
don't.
they will be your new sponsor.
I remember when
Disney
we were
Plus.
kids, Disney had Touchstone Pictures or Touchstone, and that was where they produced all their like non-Disney content was through Touchstone. That's just a fun fact. I just aged the fuck out of myself.
Wow, Touchstone. Who are you?
So back to the whole better with age. I think a few of the things that my takeaways, the things that have really like been life changing, are a couple of things. But I think practicing more gratitude to others and honestly to yourself, and learning how to fucking forgive. Because holding on to shit, and forgiving yourself just as much as
That's
you
a
forgive
big
other
one
people.
right there, forgiving
But a lot of
yourself.
it is forgiveness is, I think, the key to so much shit. Because if you're angry at somebody or you're not forgiving yourself for something, that is just going to eat away at you, and you're never ever going to be free. And the only way you can be free, and there's some fucking hardcore examples we went over in our forgiveness episode, but like the one that comes to mind is that gymnast chick from the Olympic team. She was getting molested by that doctor.
Oh.
And when she came out and she said, I forgive you because you don't get to control my life. I forgive you. I'm done with you. What happens to you is up to the courts and God, and it's out of my hands because I'm going to go move on. And like, that was one of the coolest things I've ever heard, because I don't think I'd want to go murder the dude, but
One of the things they say in AA all the time is anger is like drinking poison because somebody else did something wrong. So you're just, or you're letting somebody else run space in your head.
exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, and you just handcuff yourself because all you're thinking about is this other person. It's like, be done with it. Do what you need to do, but be done with it. And then, well, maybe not do what you need to do. I'm not saying you should go commit crimes if that's what you think you need to do. Not my thing. But Yeah. I think those are two big takeaways. And I don't know. You can ask Steve, but I don't think I'm like by default I've ever been like anything that anyone would call a positive person. At least
you were not a positive person
most of my
before
life.
You got that stomach bypass. And then afterwards, it was almost like not a reset button because there's no. I don't say that at all. I don't want to allude to that's a magic miracle silver bullet.
No, it doesn't work the same for everybody. It happened to work for me because I was extremely ready for it, and it was something that I
But
I
you're
put a lot
way
of
more
work into.
positive now. I like the 2019 Tim so much better than I like 2006.
But I guess what I'm saying though is like that's not my default necessarily. I mean, even Joe, I was talking to you, and I was trying to find a parking space at Trader Joe's, and I almost flipped my shit earlier.
Yeah, that wasn't my favorite. But either which way,
it's like a pressurized like air tank. Sometimes you just have to like hit the little like pressure release, and you just have to let off a little steam. That's just how I work, dude. But anyways, I think that it now, which is coming from a weird place because it isn't something you'd ever catch me saying for 35 years and 36 years of my life, is whether it's a homeless person or a grocery store clerk, I don't know. I firmly believe that I'm in a better place if I try to make every interaction I have with anyone, even if it's a couple of words, put them in a slightly better place than they were before. Like say hi, smile. It could be that easy. And I don't know, to me, that's made a huge difference to me because I feel like if I make someone else a little happier, that makes me happier. And maybe it's a selfish thing, but I don't know, it works.
I would go so far as to say that you're actually making the world a better place by doing that. Because if we all did that every day, imagine what would happen.
Oh my God, Patty, you're a fucking genius because that's kind of been since the beginning. And maybe we haven't said it in a while, but we've always said if every person made their little sphere of influence a little bit better, the world would be a better place almost unrecognizably within the span of a couple of weeks.
Yep.
That butterfly chaos effect.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that I will tell you, to the people that are listening, is that if actually, you know what's so crazy is that one of the things that I learned with age, and one of the things that I always like to touch on, and that was actually brought to my attention that reminded me again, I was listening to another podcast called The Happiness Lab with Dr. Laurie Santos. She's a Yale professor, and I think she even did her first thing on the Happy Millionaire or something like that, and I think that's where I'm getting it from. But it was basically like it fell to the fact that when I was younger, I said, "Oh, if I just did this, this was going to make this is going to make my day, this is going to make my week, this is going to make my life," right? And it builds up that a little bit of anxiety that you were kind of alluding to, but also that youthful anxiety. But one of the things that was kind of found out through time is that, you know what, the highs are never as high as you think they are. The lows are never as low as you think they are either. And so, so long as you kind of keep to you, so long as you know yourself and you're more confident in yourself. And you kind of keep on growing with that every single year, or as you growing through that with every single experience, you'll find out that nothing is ever gonna one something is never ever gonna make you, but then also one something is never ever gonna fully break you either. And so just keep that in mind as you kind of go about and you're struggling. You're like, oh my God, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. Well, the goal is for it not to get any worse, but the goal is for you to develop a perspective about what else can you bank on. Maybe it is that showing gratitude towards like positive things that have happened in your life when things aren't necessarily going your way, or at least being mindful and respectful that when you do have something kind of good going and your life is going really, really well, to be mindful of other people and to also be more positive to other people along the way. As a way to say thank you, or at least to say a future thank you, and at least to pay respects. Damn, just shut it down with that one. Dr. Laurie Santos. Dr. Laurie Santos.
I want to pile on. Just in that when you are going through those times that are really hard, or when you're really struggling, or when you're feeling like everything's against you, go help somebody else. Stop thinking about yourself.
We always talk about that here.
That's freaking fantastic. I had I learned this at a I don't know when I learned this fairly recently in the last few years. When I realized that when I was having a bad day, someone else was probably having a bad day. So if ever I was having a bad day, I would just call someone who I thought might be having a bad day. And if I was right, then I would try to talk to them and make them feel better. Because by doing that, I ended up feeling better.
Yep. Is that why you were always calling me?
That's why I always call you, Steve. No, sometimes I call you to make sure you're...
He's like, Steve's definitely having a worse day than I am.
This hasn't happened lately, but sometimes, Steve, we have to do wellness checks on you. I've had to come to your house to make sure you're still fucking alive sometimes.
Yeah, that's a different time, man.
But most of that had to do with that same girl that we talked about earlier. So
good old Virginia girl.
Yeah.
Good old Virginia girl.
Well, wellness checks on Steven. That's what we do.
The things that we got.
But see, that's a good friend, man. How many people would come over to your house to make sure you're still alive?
It was only you. My parents didn't even want to come over. They're like, I'm tired.
Yeah, your parents didn't even care. They're like, maybe Steven's dead. I don't fucking care.
Oh my God, that girl again. Oh.
Cool. Well, I think we wrapped that up pretty nicely. I think that when we get older, we get smarter and we get better. We get better from the inside out. And that's what really matters.
It's true.
Yeah. Because you know what? A chocolate-covered dog shit is not that good.
It isn't?
It may look beautiful on the outside, but it's no good on the
Does
inside.
it? What a perfect example. Who said that? What?
That was
Betsy Ross?
That was
Who
Tim
was it?
Frick.
That was Tim Frick.
And you're on your top. I'm just going to close it out right. Well, I'll just close it out for me. You guys can add to this if you want. But you talk about happiness. And I think happiness is huge. And one of my favorite people that talks about happiness, and I believe he's a professor. He's done a ton of research on happiness. His name is Sean Aker. He's written a few books. And my sister actually introduced him to me, and she got a book of his for me. But anyways, he talks about, and just to sum it up and very quickly if I can, he talks about how we're always putting happiness on the other side of a goalpost of some sort. So it's like, well, I'll be happy when I get this new job, or when I get promoted, or I'll be happy when I meet this girl, or when I get married, or you're always putting happiness on the other side of something, and you're always moving it, and you never fucking allow yourself to be happy. You should allow yourself to be happy, and your goals shouldn't be tied to your happiness necessarily. Because a lot of people go their whole life always putting happiness on the other side of some event or some goal or something that they're trying to do, and you end up fucking yourself out of happiness for your entire life pretty much. So he talks about flipping the script and being happy first, and then going out and doing all the things you want to do to make yourself better.
Damn.
I like it.
Damn.
Fun stuff, guys. Yeah.
Patty, we could not thank you enough for being on this sweet, sweet podcast, and the dozens and dozens of listeners could not be more thankful.
Anytime you want to come back on our podcast, Patty, you are more than welcome. You just hit me up. You are a welcome addition to the podcast. And I dig the chemistry of the three of us, and maybe we can even get
JB's out
on one of these.
JB's out. Sorry, JB.
JB, you've been replaced.
JB got replaced.
Yeah,
sorry, you got to deal with your kids. You're out.
I know.
Yeah,
There's not enough room on this
I
island.
think you could go have a family or some shit. You know what? Yeah.
Damn. Well, and that was the last we ever heard of JB.
Yeah, no, JB.
I'm kidding, J-Bulls. I'm kidding, baby. We love you. We love you.
JB's off with a ginormous country star right now, doing a giant show somewhere in Tennessee.
When the lightning strikes.
Stadium show.
Is that a country song?
What?
When the lightning strikes? I don't even know.
When the thunder rolls.
Whoa! I was way off.
You were close.
I was weather-wise. I was way
close. Yeah. Something
lightning,
about
thunder. Close enough.
Shameless.
Probably. I don't know. Regardless, JBs, we love you. Oh my gosh,
JB.
Couldn't be more thankful.
Patty, you'll meet JB someday digitally or
digitally.
telephonically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Digitally, telephonically, cellularly.
Sounds
I guess that's it. Patty, you got any closing remarks?
I just want to thank you again for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the whole concept of your podcast. I think it's great.
Yeah. Is it kind of what you is it what you thought it was?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I've listened to some episodes in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like the whole concept of kind of the reality of
two aging 30-year-olds talking about being positive.
It's not philosophical. It's just kind of your life and how you get through it, which is great.
It's not always pretty, and it's not always formulaic, if that's even a word. There's not always like a magic formula.
Nope.
Like sometimes it is just it is, and sometimes, I mean, half the time we're doing this podcast just to talk through our own shit. But
exactly.
Sometimes if that can help other people who might have similar shit that they're going through, then that's the idea.
Yep.
And,
I love it.
We're always open to you guys reaching out to us. I think I need to pay GoDaddy some money or something for our website. So just email us at projectxreclamation@gmail.com. Hit us up. Go to podbelly.com.
Always.
Definitely go listen to Just the Worst podcast, where you can hear more of our lovely guest host, Patti Larson. Go check out all the podcasts on podbelly.com. I don't have any. What do we do? Oh yeah. Go check out Hillbilly Horror Stories and Kim and Ket Stay Alive. Stay Alive. There we go. Wow, Tim, you're an idiot.
Maybe.
I've talked too much.
Maybe so.
Kim and Ket Stay Alive. Maybe?
Yep.
Yeah. That's
Just
it.
the Worst podcast, about to get 12 new listeners, 12 new subscribers. I don't know.
Dozens and
dozens
of
listeners.
So that's all I have. Thank you again so much, Patty. You're a delightful addition.
Thank
Steve, love you as always. JB, wherever the hell you are, I hope you're doing well. We love you too, man. Everybody, we will talk to you next week or possibly tomorrow, depending on if we do our daily podcast tomorrow. So, hey, you know what? Be good. Go kick ass, do your thing, and hit us up if you need some help or want to talk or just want to, jump on the podcast or, I don't know, vent some shit, whatever. It's cool. So, yep, until next time, peace out.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.